everybody. Thank you for joining us for this live stream. As you can see, we have some really great channels here. Sassy Gal Prepping and Prepping by Faith. Welcome, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I added the effect of having family members in the background just to make it more, realistic.
There you go.
Thank you for being here. And I just wanted to say hello to a couple of folks in chat. Blue Vandal's here. Nice to see you. Mr. Trashby, thanks for stopping by. X24 Prepper and Mr. McBean Scottish Fitness is here. Rita Hunter's here. Texas Surplus Pro. Everyone go check out his channel. It's awesome. Harvey, thanks for being here, as well as Stuart Prepping and Canadian Cabin Girl. And who else do we have here? Oh, Carbon Q. Awesome. Thanks for coming by, guys. Gail's here, and same with River Runner and Jean. Oh, nice to see you folks. Appreciate you coming by. So, welcome to our live stream. We're talking about prepping with family. That could be kids, the elderly that we look after, anyone we look after, even friends that we consider family is part of our topic tonight. And these two fantastic channels are here because they cover similar types of things in their videos. So it's really great to hear some of the ideas. And so, Sassy Gal, will you tell us a little bit about your channel, just in case anyone here didn't know?
Well, let's see. We started my channel back in September, and I like to focus on ways that you can be prepared for whatever life has to throw at you. So I do have a spiritual slant on that, though not quite like what Prepping by Faith does. But yeah, I like to focus on saving money on your hauls, saving money on, gas, getting healthy, being prepared for everything financially and physically and all that good stuff. So welcome to Sassy Gal.
And Prepping by Faith, will you tell us a bit as well?
Certainly. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Prepping by Faith, and I started my channel the end of January. And it's very similar kind of to what Sassy Gal is doing. And I created it really to help prep the entire person mentally, spiritually, as well as physically. I do cover some faith-based content. It's usually just some small teaching moments, things I'm going through or I've been through that I want to share with the group. I do share some food hauls, other food-related prep tips and tricks, and just general preparedness information. And then I do share some more critical thinking pieces. And I recently started hosting live streams on my channel where we delve into issues that I think are important to our success as a community.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you again for taking the time. And also, this is a topic that has been covered by quite a few channels. There's some material out there by Canadian Prepper. I also noticed a live stream a month ago by Goshen Prepping, as well as a video a while ago by Rogue Preparedness. And I'm going to mention a couple of the really great tidbits that I learned from those videos. And then, of course, a lot of the things we're going to talk about are new or don't apply to everybody. So any chat participation is a group learning where we're all sharing ideas and learning together here. So I wanted to start off and ask you guys, what are some positives to prepping in a group? So by the way, Jean, thank you for the super sticker.
Oh, yay!
Wow. That's so thoughtful. I didn't have to, but thank you very, very much.
Well, I'll jump in there and answer that. For me, I feel like one huge positive when prepping for a group is that you have more people to kind of help lighten that load. So you do have more people to prep for, but you also have more that are available to contribute. Even if that doesn't translate into physical labor because of age, it can be a positive because of skill, especially with older family members that live in your household. So knowledge is always a definite bonus.
Yes, and I was going to say something similar to that. You have a wide diversity of skills. When you get a bigger group, you've got lots of different people that have different strengths, so you can play to their strengths, and everybody has something to contribute, when you have a group.
Yeah, exactly. And there's the wisdom of the older folks that they bring to the table. But then I know a lot of people have kids that are in they're in um, scouts or guides or things like that,
Mhm.
and they may have tidbits or bring up topics and questions that everyone can, ask questions that everyone can learn about, or some of the younger folks who have maybe taken lifeguarding courses and things like that can help with first aid and things like that. There's a lot of folks in here. Prepper 101, thanks for stopping in, and Guardian, and Shadow Scout Sweet, and Apartment Prepper's here, Apocalyptic Ben is here as well, Peaceful Monkey, who has a channel, by the way, that I didn't know that, is here
Oh,
as well,
didn't
and
miss it.
there's been a whole bunch of super chats. Thank you,
Woo!
Shadow, is very thoughtful, and Guardian, and Ben, and Laura. Oh my gosh, guys,
Awesome.
thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, really not necessary and very appreciated, guys. So thank you so much. And anyways, so back to the questions. What are some challenges that come with prepping for more than just yourself?
Did you want to start, Sassy, or do you want me to? I don't want to keep jumping
I
in.
laughed just because the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this question was drama.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, but yeah, I mean, you get people, you get depending on people act differently in stressful situations. Even if if it's just I say a power outage, that could be a big deal, but from like a storm taking your power out to something major happening, and everybody reacts differently, and sometimes the first thing that comes out is drama. So, but we can get over that.
Yes.
Yes, we can. For me, I feel like you have to be cognizant of everyone's abilities. So
Yeah.
I have both ends of the spectrum in my household. I have two girls. One is 7 and the other one's 12. And then I have my parents as well. And, they're older, so they're a little bit more challenged with health and mobility issues and that sort of thing. And it can also be a lot more expensive when prepping for a larger household. And then it does take up a lot more space. So trying to be more creative about where to store things is something else that you have to be aware of.
Absolutely. And the feeling of having to take care of everyone with a lot of work and not enough time, I think, can be something
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
people,
Yes, I
especially, I
agree.
think it might have come out in one of your recent videos, Prepping by Faith, but yeah, I know it did. It's the thought that we all have to have all the skills in all the
Yes.
areas, and then it's like have all those skills and look after everybody as well and do a great job. And it can be a lot, especially with um, the time involved to do all that stuff. So on that note, do you guys feel that everyone should have a role in the preparedness time?
I mean, I do. I think children and even older family members should have a role. Now, how big of a role is going to depend on their ages and their physical abilities. But at a minimum, I feel like having a discussion with your family about how to handle different scenarios, whether that's a natural disaster, a man made event, or even chaos in the streets, is important so that they know what their role is. And it's also a good idea to get their input because we can't think through every scenarios. And sometimes they might come up with something that you haven't thought of and surprise you. And we all prep differently because we don't think exactly the same.
Right. Everyone brings something to the table, basically. And so, again, everyone has a strength in a certain area, even your children, you can help them find that strength. Um, but yeah, to some degree, if I like to think of it more of as assignments, or maybe we used to call in our house jurisdictions when it came to chores. You have this area and you have this area. And then you can switch around and we learn different things so that everyone is kind of pigeonholed into one area. But yeah, if it comes down to roles, as in like men do this and women do this, that's not what I think. Everybody can do whatever because some people are strong. Everybody can hunt in my house. Everybody can shoot. Everybody can cook. So, but we're all older too. I have older kids. So, yeah, everybody brings something to the table.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then I was gonna ask, like, do you have any examples of how you get other members of your family involved in preparedness? Like, what are some examples of other family members helping you. For example, gardening is one thing that I can get the smaller person, the young, not small, the younger person to help with. Like, trying to make it fun, like, certain aspects like digging holes or putting the seeds in the holes and things like that. And that is something for them to get excited about, but then also helps as well.
Yeah, that's good because gardening is a big thing and it does take a lot of work and it can't just be for one person. I think everybody needs to be involved, but actually when you get others involved, especially, your kids, they'll have more of an interest and they'll be more invested in it. And it's always, if they're picking the vegetables or they're picking it, they're more apt to eat it than me just throwing it on the table.
That's a great point. I think, 2020 definitely accelerated all of our levels of preparedness. I know it did for a lot of people. I know one of the first things that we discussed as a family was the fact that we needed to get more serious about water storage. So that was kind of something bigger that we tackled together as a family. And I won't go into details about how that all went, but it did get done. And another thing, I feel like since we share a home with my parents and my mom's really into preparedness too, she kind of took on different roles than we did. So she devoted a lot of her extra time and energy to learning how to pressure can and dehydrate food. And I feel like, those skill sets definitely contributed significantly to our household. And I think we all need to know the basics of many of these, but I feel like being able to divide up some of these things is going to profit the group. And we're all going to have things that we naturally gravitate towards because we're better at them or we're more interested in learning about them than others. So taking advantage of that in your household, I think will help.
Great points. And I did also want to mention that the roaming prepper is here. Nice to see you. And Ghetto. Hey, Ghetto. Say hi to Mrs. Ghetto.
Hello.
Good to see you. Coffee first, then speak. I was over in
all of you.
Got Preps chat earlier and saw Coffee First over there. So good to see you and anyone else who may be there as well. Crypto Maria. Nice to see you again. It's been a while. And so do each of the members of your family have a bug out bag?
Only my husband does. He works in the city, so there's a commute for him that's about an hour and 15 minutes each way. So he has had one ever since he started working there, and he's had a plan on how to get home. And so he's the one that has the bug out bag. The rest of us do not.
In my household, each of our immediate family members has one, and I'm trying to get my parents on board about putting one together, but they're kind of that mindset that they're never going to leave the house. So I do think that there are circumstances that would drive you from your home no matter what, like an approaching wildfire or something. So I'm kind of working on that with them and trying to get them into that mentality.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think like everybody in this house has a bag, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a bug out bag. So the little kid one isn't, all decked out with all this. There's just a few, certain items that are required for comfort and just their regular stuff. And I did hear on Goshen Prepping's live stream a month ago about how it can be nice for everybody to have a little backpack, and if there are little ones around. Of course, not every household has small people in it, or little people, but it doesn't have to be expensive, fancy, but just some bag with a few things that, we all know what those things could be. If they're really small, it could be things like diapers or wipes, and just having that bag all ready to go. And then, of course, checking it regularly because they grow fast and size out of anything. Is there anything unique inside of any of the bags that you have seen your family members have?
Well, in our household, with my younger one, because she wears glasses, we make sure we keep a spare pair of those in the bag for her. And then she's also prone to nosebleeds. So one of the things that we give her on a regular basis is nasal gel just to keep her nasal passages moistened. So I have one of those in there. So I feel like with, different people need to be thinking about those kinds of things, whatever it is that is specific to that person's needs. You need to be thinking about that, whether it's a special kind of medication that they take on a regular basis. Having something like that in there, I think, is going to be really important.
I wanted to
Absolutely.
just say something real quick. I saw Apartment Prepper had a comment that went by, and she said that it bug out bag and get home bag were two totally different things, and that's correct because I was talking about a get home bag. I wasn't thinking when we were talking about bug out. I was thinking, oh, my husband's the only one that has any kind of a bag. But yeah, his is a get home bag, obviously, and not a bug out bag. We don't have, unless you can call my RV the bug out bag. That's the bug out bag we have. That's what we would be leaving and going into our mag location if we needed to leave.
Yeah, and kind of going back into that whole thing too. I mean, the bug out bag versus the get home bag. I think that's something that people really need to be thinking about because
Mm-hmm.
most of us aren't going to be trekking it out in the wilderness. You know, we would be in more of a
Right.
temporary relocation situation. So making
Mm-hmm.
sure, like in our kids' bags, it's just, general preparedness stuff. So we have things in there like they do have a Sawyer water filter in there, but then we also have just changes of clothing and some basic hygiene products. And I feel like that's kind of more the thing that a lot of people are going to want in their bags. And
Right.
so my husband and I, we do have, a lot of the gear type things in our bags, but then we also have another bag that we have packed that we share that's just similar to our kids' bags. And I think people need to think about that. Either have two different types of bags, or maybe even having an area like a shelving unit where you keep all of those items so that you can switch them out and tailor them according to whatever that specific scenario is that you're dealing with.
Right.
That's such a good point. And I remember
Right.
when we were in the UK, the term that I was using for bags was incorrect due to the terms over there. So I really feel like that was an incorrect use of terminology for me. What I should have said is bag, just a bag, because
Right.
we have a couple of bags that are set aside with a little more like camping type equipment, and I think for this one I was just sort of meaning a bag designated to a person with some special items inside of it. And I also wanted to mention the Virginia Bushcrafter is here, and Uncle Al is here, as well as Mrs. Ghetto. Yay, you're here. And Prepper 101, I see you there, and yeah, there's several people, and I think I missed DS Private. DS Private is here as well, and you guys might notice there's way fewer blue people. I was finding I had way more wrenches than people in my chat, so I did email a few people, but some people I don't have emails. So if you notice it's less, it's just that I had pretty much 90% of the people in there were wrenches. So, anyways, back to the topic. Do you think it's necessary for kids to have fancy outdoor gear?
I don't think it's necessary for really any of us to have fancy gear. I mean, you just need gear that's actually going to function and work when you need it to. So,
Mm-hmm.
taking the time to go ahead and test that stuff out beforehand and make sure it is going to hold up for you, I think is important. And that's kind of something that I know I need to work on myself.
So like we have a lot of camping gear because we have done Scouts and American Heritage Girls, and so we have tons of camping and outdoor gear. Is that kind of, I wasn't sure, is that kind of what we're going for here? Like, or are we talking about like bug out gear? All of it's the
Yeah,
same,
I
I
guess.
guess, but
Yeah, I guess it's sort of, does a young child need to have like the? I think one barrier can be that some folks think they need to buy all this specialized stuff, and no, it can be simple as a pillow that's comfortable for that child
Mhm.
to use so that they're
Mhm.
comfortable. Just a warm jacket. It could be secondhand store. Just
Right.
extra stuff is more, what I was getting at. In other words, it doesn't need to
Yeah.
be. I mean, there are obviously some types of gear we want to have better quality than others, but that's where I was going with that.
I like having, for us anyway, it was shoes was a big deal. So having some kind of a proper hiking boot or shoe, because that's what we, when, especially when we went camping or hiking and stuff, as with the scouting programs, we needed to have good shoes, um, especially. So,
Yes.
and then anything that would keep your equipment dry and your clothes dry, that was the second thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you have any thoughts on that one, prepping by faith?
I mean, I agree with the whole footwear thing. And I think keeping even spare socks and stuff
Oh
in
yeah.
your bag is going to be crucial, because you're going to want to keep your feet dry, right? I mean, in any kind of situation. So that's a given, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I like to have, a bag of extra stuff that I don't need to think about for, the smaller folks that it's not rotating through what they're wearing on a regular basis. So in that regard, to have
Mhm.
that extra, it's not going to be necessarily, it's going to be pretty economical stuff to buy in order to have it just sitting there.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
yeah,
We do the same thing. So I agree.
yeah,
Yep. Same.
yeah. Otherwise, it gets taken out, then it doesn't get put back in and
Right.
stuff like that. So, what are some considerations when bugging in with a family or staying in and not leaving if there was some kind of scenario that took place?
I mean, I think in either situation, whether you're bugging in or you're bugging out, you need to have a plan. That's imperative. So in
Absolutely.
our family,
Mhm.
we created a binder with, just various scenarios. And then I have checklists for every family member. So what I would do is just hand each person their checklist so that we can get those tasks done quickly and swiftly. And everyone is either ready to go to the designated area in our home, or they're mobilized to leave the home. And I feel like it wouldn't only accomplish those tasks more quickly, but it would also help keep your children occupied so that they're not under your feet while you're trying to get things done. And for a young child, it might just be something as simple as putting on their shoes and grabbing their bag and watching over the family pet. And for an older child, it could be getting their own gear ready, double checking that the younger one did, helping you move lighter weight items, where they need to go. And, I just think that's something that we need to think about. So, and as far as the whole, assuming in every situation, right? I think a lot of us in the community, we talk about bugging out and we always assume that it's going to be an on foot scenario. I feel like we need to start visualizing that as a last ditch thing, because most of us are not going to make it
Mhm.
very far on foot, especially with children, your small pets, your elderly family members in tow. So I think it makes a lot more sense to talk about bugging out with your vehicles and kind of strategizing what items you're going to pack in them for each situation. And we're preppers for a reason. So in most cases, we're going to have enough foresight to get out ahead of the majority of the chaos before the roads get blocked.
Right. That's kind of, we're talking about plans, and that's kind of what we have is a plan for. Again, it would just have to depend on whatever scenario we're facing. Like in 2020, we felt like that was like a first experience with what bugging in would be like, because we couldn't go anywhere, or we could go out though. So we weren't like confined to our homes, at least where I was, but you could go out, but there wasn't any place to really go. So everything was limited. So we spent a lot more time at home, and it did kind of create that thinking of what would we do if we had to bug in and we had to stay in and we couldn't leave, for whatever reason of what's happening outside. And I think you want to consider, entertainment options, be able to keep busy. Um, One of the things, I mentioned drama earlier, and y'all think I'm crazy, but
No, I
um,
know.
but when you're all of a sudden having to everybody be together when you may not be used to being together. Did I say that right?
Yes.
It's after my bedtime, y'all. No, but when you're not used to being at home together all the time, and then suddenly you're there together all the time, then stress is going to come out. And so if there are things that are unresolved, if they're, like it could be marital issues, I'm getting real here, you guys. But there could be just, things like that will be amplified when the pressure is on. So, if we're talking about serious scenarios where like for us, we have a mag location, that would mean taking our RV and going to that location. And let me tell you, 5 people in an RV. Yeah. So, the stress comes out. So, but anyway, so considerations for that, is having open lines of communication, making sure you're talking, about what everybody's going through, patience, long suffering, y'all, but having, like you said, entertainment, or like, prepping by faith, you had like a little assignments for everyone and stuff. And so that's, stuff like that will keep people focused on a higher purpose, if you will, and rather than having to focus on all the little, because you're going to get on top of each other, just kind of get mentally ready for that, I guess, maybe.
I love the idea of the tasks and everybody having
Yeah.
a job to do. It could be, filling up some last water before the water goes off, or getting, looking after the pet, or there could be a variety of things. And I think, we need to consider other things with family rather than being solo. So, for example, complex medical needs of all the people involved, and are they going to be able to walk if we need to leave, and how are we going to get that? And I think your talk about having a plan ahead of time and having that documented of how each step of the way is. I mean, a lot of work sites have that anyways, the emergency response plan, and household, we have one in the household, and it just make, all the important phone numbers, all the ideas in there is helpful too.
Yeah,
there are.
Go ahead. No, we always had, because we were always separated every day when my husband was actually going into the office. We always had a plan of if this certain scenario happened, then the kids and I were to go to X location and he would meet us. If a different scenario happened, we would wait here, we would meet up, and then we would go to the next thing. So yeah, I can't stress that plan enough, knowing, who does what, and yeah.
Yes. Preparedness is here. Good to see you. That's awesome. Just looking at the chat here for a second. LG is here as well.
Songs to sing. Yay.
Yeah, and I think Uncle Al said earlier about having a bug net for sleeping. That's a good one as well. Yep. Try to put your suggestions in there, and I'll definitely go back and check it out after as well if I miss it, because it's going by pretty quick. What is one thing you can do to help your family in an emergency situation? I can start with that. With one of the videos by Rogue Preparedness, which I can link below, was just about keeping calm, because it has such an impact on everybody in the household. And I also saw Harvey had in there having a lot of songs to sing. Yeah.
Well, for us, I feel like having those conversations now about those various scenarios and then going over plans with them. So we do a lot of family meetings where we kind of drill our kids, how to respond during a fire, what to do if they were to hear gunshots in the middle of the night. How they would respond if an intruder were to break in the middle of the day and it was just my parents' home downstairs. So I feel like going over these sorts of things with them so that it kind of becomes more second nature is going to help them respond a lot more fearlessly in those situations.
Definitely. And we've, to be honest, for me, we're at a point where we have to revisit a lot of those. Just when you guys are just talking and thinking, I'm just like, we need to actually revisit. Our kids are older. They're going to react differently. Even rooms have changed in our house. So a plan of exit is going to be a little bit different. But yeah, you mentioned something about gunshots in the middle of the night, and that got me thinking, we need to talk some more.
Exactly. I mean, especially with young children, because one of the things I've told mine is I'm like, if you hear anything like that, you stay in your room, you keep your door shut, you do not move until I come to get you. Because if you pop out and we don't know it, they could get caught in the crossfire, So those are things that people need to be talking about with their children. And I don't think it's really something that's on a lot of people's radar right now, it should be, but it's not something that a lot of us really think about.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten comfortable.
Yes.
And so we used to have that, and because we have 2A implements in our home, and so we had extensive training on all of them, and where they are and what to do if this happens. Is we have 1-2 entrances that people could come in, and so we had a couple different scenarios on what to do, but again, going over it again. This is where it's at. This is what we do. Let's go over it again. Because, I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, I just wrote it down. Okay, this is what we're going to do tomorrow.
So LJ had a good point, and it brings to the next question. LJ is saying assign tasks, but also practice is important. Meeting points could change based on situation if discussed and practice those separately. Absolutely, and in different seasons as well.
Yep.
And so for that, the question was, are there any scenarios for practice that a family could do? So, an example of a lights out weekend, or power out weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So just seeing all the different things that come up. I know a lot of people do those. I hope people will make videos of those to share. I mean, some people make them because the situation happens, like the big stop. Cynthia made one because she actually
went through it.
Have to, yeah. But so a lights out weekend, of course, first aid scenarios are a big one in this household. Any other scenarios you guys recommend?
Well, one of the ones that we work on regularly is fire safety. I feel like that's a huge one, and it's one that we don't cover enough. Another one that you could do is practicing for a particular natural disaster that impacts your area. I think that parents really need to take the time to talk to their children about the importance of getting out immediately if they hear the smoke detectors going off in the middle of the night. Don't have them wait on you. If they're old enough to get out, they need to understand how to respond and get out. And we need to be training them to sleep with their doors shut. You need to train them on how to check if there's any heat coming off that door, because you don't want them just opening it and then fire comes in. You need to train them on how to escape out of a window and which windows are going to be your best for an escape. And then keeping things like fire blankets underneath your beds is a good one. I feel like these are just, small little things that we can do to start talking about preparedness that don't have to be end of the world type scenarios, but they really could be the end of your world if you're not prepared for them.
Yes. And I have a funny story about, we were practicing one of our scenarios about when the kids were little, and I was teaching them how to dial 911, but we had this digital phone. So you had to actually dial it and then hit send or something. And so I was teaching them how to do it, but we weren't hitting send. Well, then my daughter was playing with the phone, and she decided she hit that send button. And next thing I know, I had 911 calling me. They're like, hello, is everything okay?
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what happened? Oh, it's just like, I am so sorry.
It happens.
Right. But yeah, I mean, they knew how to dial 911. But yeah, I saw Apartment Prepper mentioned she has a special needs person in her house, and that is something. My oldest daughter has sensory processing disorder. So when it comes to loud noises, we're talking about fire, smoke detectors or fire alarms. Our fire alarm is smoke detectors are wired into the house. So if one goes off, they all go off, and the whole house sounds like a fire station. In those scenarios, and when there's any kind of strobe lights, or if there's any kind of loud sounds like that, her first instinct is to just lock up, and she just freezes. So we have worked a lot with trying to get her to understand that she needs to be able to work through that and get out the front door, because I can't. She's on the opposite end of the house that I am. And of course, she's an adult now and she's done a lot better. But when she was a kid, it was like, we have to work through this. And she has her headphones, by her soundproof headphones, and she keeps them by her bed so she can put those on and get out. And she knows right where the stairs are at. She's the closest one to the door, so she can be the first one out the door if we need to be. So, but yeah, it'll, especially with special needs, like Apartment Prepper was saying, you have to go over those over and over and work with those, work with those people in your house, or you might have to be able to get to them first if they're younger, to be able to deal with them, because at least with her, it's the first thing that they want to do is just to curl up and not do anything, and they have to get out. So
yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up about people being in different ends of the household as well, because I mean, that's how ours is. We're on one end way away from the kids, and they're on a completely different end. So that's why I think, like to your point, it's very important that we talk about them getting out on their own and working through those things on their own, and not just relying on mom and dad to come rescue them, because mom and dad might be trapped. Mom and dad might not be able to get you out.
Right. Right, because we would have to, depending on where something was at in the house, and you're talking about fire safety. That's kind of a big one for us too. Like I said, she would be the first one out, and we may be the second, but we would have to come out a different way. Maybe we
Mhm.
wouldn't be able to go out the front door. We would have to probably go out through the garage,
Right.
And so we all have to know we're going to meet out front, and we're going to, we have our meeting point. But yeah, if I can't get to her, she's got to be able to get out. But then again, she's older now, so that it's not so much of a concern. But
Right.
I do worry about if it was the right scenario and that fire alarm. I always want to say that's what it sounds like, but if that goes off, she just might lock right down, and that's a concern.
Yeah, that is a big concern. I'm glad you guys brought that up. And I did notice there was somebody who said that LG says they'd love to hear more about special needs tips in regards to prepping. I think this was based on Apartment Preppers' comment. So, I mean, that's hopefully a bunch of people can make videos about that and try to just, get more conversations going about that topic. And then there was another comment also by LG that was, a lot of people panic and freeze. I know fight and flight is common, but freezing is often forgotten. With practice and training,
Yeah.
you can help to respond better. And this is something I've talked about a lot in the past because my background training, I went to paramedic school, and it's all about, going through the motions of doing those calls and actually getting your hands in your bag and pulling things out and getting that muscle memory so that when things actually happen, then you can go through the motions and not freeze up. And everybody can have a role in that response, no matter their age. There's something that they can do.
Yeah.
Great point.
So it's been mentioned several times already, so I feel like I already know the answer, but do you have a muster point and meeting plan? It sounds like you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do. For us, like right now, my kids have been at home with me because we've been doing the online learning, but they're going to be going back to school to in-person learning in August. So with me being home, I'm within a mile of both of their schools. So they know that they need to just stay there and wait for me to come get them. And my husband works about 10 miles up the road. So, our plan is for him to just get home, meet us at home. So we've talked about all of these things they know. But one of the other things that I wanted to point out right here too, if you guys have younger children and you haven't thought about it, one of the things that we've done as a family is that we've invented a code word. And so if they're spread out in different areas of the home away from you and something goes down, or you're out in a public space and you were to shout that code word, my kids know to drop everything and come right to me so that mom can give them the instructions and the directions, because they know that something is wrong and that they need to be paying attention. So
That's awesome that you said that, because we have code words too.
oh, great. I love it.
I thought I was like sillier, like
weird or something for it. No, and it doesn't have to be anything huge,
Yeah, no, we have it right down to I let the kids know, because sometimes because I'm a conceal packing mama, and sometimes my oldest daughter will ask me, I have a phrase that I have company with me, and I'll let them know that. I'm just like, hey, you guys, I just want you to know I brought company today,
Great.
And I'll let them know that, like, if we're out, because sometimes, I'm like, hey, you know what? I just want to remind you, and yeah, you mentioned that code word, and I'm like, oh yeah, we've got some of those.
Yeah, for ours, it's just a color. I came up with red because I think of red and I automatically think of alert. And so I just thought that was the easiest thing, is mom just yells red and you come. So
we also had a code phrase for my girls, especially because when if they were going out and they were going to a friend's house, I always had a phrase for them to text me, and then there would be questions answered, and I would come and get them. I always told myself, I don't care where you're at. I don't care what time it is. Of course, they're usually not out late anyway, but, I didn't care if it was like 10 or 11 at night. I said, I will come and get you. And it's usually as if they had a sleepover, or if they were at, a party late or something like that. But anyway, I said, I don't care where you're at. If you discover that this event that you went to with your friends is not what you think it is, then you just text me and I'll come and get you and I'll pick you right up.
I love it.
Oh, I love that too. And by the way, your previous story, it looks like Carving Q is happy about that one, about what you were saying, Sassy Gal, because she's
Mhm.
doing the applause in
Oh,
there. And
hey. And I told my son that too, though. I mean, he usually where he goes is he hangs out with a couple buddies most of the time. So he's, but anytime, any event or anything that they're at that I drop them off at, and I'm, like if you discover it's not what you think it is, or there's something there's dangerous there, then just let me know and I'll come and get you. Yeah.
I don't get out too much these days, but I know that there was a while when certain restaurants and stuff, they would have, you may have known about this or seen it, but there is a saying in the washroom that if you were to go up and order a certain drink at the bar, they know to call for help or call for a cab or
Oh, I think
call
I heard about that too.
something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you're
Yeah.
having some issues.
There's another one. Some of you guys may know this or not. But if you see a child or a woman and she's doing this, then you need to call 911 for her. That usually means that she's in some kind of trouble or a child is in trouble. And, if it could be sex trafficking, kidnapping, anything. And if you see them do this, then you need to call 911 for them.
Yeah, I had heard about that. That's a good one. So, continuing talking a little bit about kids for a minute. I mean, and that's the other thing, whether or not we have them, there could be a case where in times we join up with other groups of family and have to think about these things as well. If we had to go to other family members' houses and they're there, right? And do you guys have any opinion about if there's certain ages of kids that are kind of easier when it comes to preparedness than other ages in your experience?
Well, for me, I think it really kind of depends on the child and their emotional maturity, right? So you could have a kid that's maybe 7, but they're a more emotionally mature than a 12-year-old. But in my experience with my 2, I think having them be old enough to physically help you move things and watch out for a younger child, and then being able to understand kind of what's going on a deeper level about how dangerous something is and what's happening. I think that, about 11 or 12 is probably an easier age than, say, a younger child. That's just kind of what I think.
I have young adults. I have my kids range in age from 16 to 22. And I'm not sure if it's harder now than it was when they were younger. You can make it more fun. I don't know. I guess you can kind of make it more fun when they're younger, and now they're just kind of like,
Right. There goes crazy mom again, right?
I know. They're like, Mom. And I'm like, hey, no, we're doing this drill. Get over here.
Right. As long as you live under this roof.
I know, right? Like, you guys are adults now. Come on, carry your own weight.
You should know this by now.
Oh yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't know if is it easier, like they can carry their own weight. And so, I think they may have gotten to a point where they're like, well, we don't have to worry about it right now. But
they're more opinionated is what you're getting at, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
They have their own opinions. So yeah. Yep. So again, the family meeting thing, like you guys are having, I'm thinking that we are overdue for one. The more we're getting into this chat, what time is it again? Okay, no, we're overdue.
Maybe not tonight.
For a family meeting.
There you go.
Well, there is one person in the chat that I know recently did have a baby, and I will say that when you guys all know this, but when they're really small, it does get a little bit easier when they get a couple years old, and then after that, because you don't use much gear. We did a lot of moving around when there was the obvious plus side when they're really small is you can obviously pick them up and carry them, but then there's that awkward stage when they need to be picked up, but they're really heavy. But when they're really little, I mean, you can make all the decisions because you can pick them up and move them, and that's easy. But they need so much gear, and when they get to the point where they can sort of eat a little bit of anything, and they don't need all that special stuff, they don't need a special bed, they don't need
Right.
all these diapers and stuff. It does get I would say easier, but there's definitely other challenges. But from a amount of stuff standpoint, I think, around 3, that gets a little bit easier. So if anyone has a little tiny one, keep in mind that you'll need less stuff in a few years.
Yeah, that does
You
get a
will
little.
get through it.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Auslander Info, thanks for stopping by. And Nate, I hope you guys got some rain down in New Mexico. Ripley, hey, good to see you again. And Kill It's here. Kill it and grill it. And I know Jeep was here before, so hello, Jeep. And Nene's here as well. And I know you guys all are,
Hi,
like,
Nene.
several people did a SHT.
Yeah,
Sorry, I can't
you
even
got it.
think
Meal
tonight.
collaboration.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Collaboration. So, would it be possible to quickly just tell anyone who hasn't seen that what you guys did generally?
For the collaboration, the meal collab.
Mm-hmm.
That we're talking about. Oh, mine was easy. It was what did we decide to call it? Apartment Prepper was laughing because I called it Biden's breakfast. Like Hoover's food.
I love it. That's awesome.
Afford it. This is all we can eat. No, I did egg in a bologna cup, that's basically it. 2 ingredients, 22 cents per serving. You basically have your bologna in a muffin cup, and you drop an egg in it, and then you bake it for like 17 minutes, and you got breakfast or lunch or whatever, dinner. You can have that for any meal.
It's great. What I did is I made like an easy homemade chicken noodle. And so that was just basically country pasta. And then I went ahead and actually pulled out some of my dehydrated vegetables that I had because I wanted to go ahead and start incorporating them, test them out. And I did find something out really interesting. You don't want to put too much celery because it is much more concentrated than you think. So when you're trying to figure out these ratios, and you would think that, according to the internet, these equivalents that they give you are way off. So I had to back that off in the recipe. I did tell everybody as I tasted it, I've said this is too much celery. And I went ahead and pinned that and adjusted the recipe. So it was just something where I put a half a cup of celery. There was 3/4 cups of the dehydrated carrots. I think there was 3/4 of a cup or maybe a cup of the dehydrated onion that went in it, chicken stock, just cooking that. I did go ahead and use rotisserie chicken. I like to take those and freeze them in the freezer. I just go ahead and cut it in half and kind of chunk it up, put it into 2 different quart-sized Ziploc bags. That's something that we do to kind of stretch our budget and save money because, as everybody knows, rotisserie chickens are so much cheaper. They're usually around $5.
Yeah.
So we're able to get quite a few meals out of one of those. So I did put that in there as my meat. You could go ahead and use canned chicken if you wanted to, and then just kind of thickening that with some cornstarch. So it was more of a basic type recipe as well. But, I think it's something that people need to think about, just quick and easy things to put together, because if you're in SHTF, and especially if you're in a situation where you're using propane or something, you're not going to want to use all of that down. So you're going to want things that are going to cook quicker rather than longer. So that's what I came up with. Yeah.
Oh,
and those noodles
really
look
great.
Those noodles are awesome. They're one of my favorites, and they really do taste like homemade noodles.
Oh, they looked like they were homemade. Oh, It's like, please, I want some.
Walmart has it, so.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Usually, yeah. It's just called. I think it's called home style country pasta.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, kill it and grill it. Lord, I'm really hungry.
Oh, that's so funny. So it does look like Apartment Prepper did drop the link to the SHTF Meals collaboration playlist. So and it looked like Carbon Q was saying that she loved the one that you did, Prepping by Faith. So
thank you.
That's
thank
really
you very
cool.
much.
It was so exciting because all the videos came out at the same time. So there's lots of new videos out. I also saw Martin Phillips from Lafayette is here as well.
Martin!
So thank you for stopping. Martin! So, how can we encourage enthusiasm in children for wanting to be more involved with preparedness?
I think the biggest thing is just start including them in it now.
Yeah.
So even if they're young, just have them help you pull some of the items for their bug out bag, or give you some suggestions for that bag. And even if you think it's, not something amazing, either praise them for something that they did that was outstanding, or you kind of explain to them, giving them another suggestion of something that might be more appropriate and tell them why it's a better option. And I feel like taking your time to go over your plans with them and explain
Yeah.
the whys on their
Mhm.
level is going to be really important. And I think the more that we include them, the more that they're going to be interested and want to be more involved. And as they get older and you start to see their giftings and their talents start developing, then you can start steering them towards other aspects of preparedness that they might be more interested in, whether that's fishing or gardening or learning to sew or cook. I feel like we just need to kind of foster those things and develop them and encourage them.
Yeah,
Great ideas.
we've done so much with Boy Scouts and American Heritage Girls over the years because they started when they were little up through, graduating high school. I guess I kind of take it for granted or don't think about that we've learned all of these things along the way. So it didn't seem like it was we have to do something for prepping, it was just these raw life skills. And so it was presented to them that way on being able to, be self-sustainable or, like I can take care of myself or I know how to, I know how to build a fire or I know how to sew, I know how to do domestic things, which a lot of schools don't teach anymore, you know. Um, but I was also going to suggest too about giving them a section or a you're going to be in charge of this. And my one daughter took it to heart, and we cleaned out the hallway closet upstairs, and that whole closet is full of toiletries and feminine products and all that kind of stuff from bottom to top. It's just and that's her thing. She inventories it and all that stuff. So the girls got that got the girls section under control.
I love it.
But that's how they got enthused about it. So anybody got any ideas for the young men? I got an 18-year-old son. I need to get inspired. That's
Yeah,
mom's thing.
yeah, no, that I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with that age, unfortunately.
Yeah. I wish I could
But
find something for him to get, interested in that he helps me haul in stuff and set up stuff. But outside of that, he's just like, yeah, okay, you go ahead.
But you did say that, he's into, didn't you say that you guys all go to the range? And so he's done like the hunting. Does he do like fishing and all that sort of thing as well? I mean, I feel like those sorts of things are contributing as well, right?
He can. So let's not just say that he
Oh,
knows
he's just
how
not
to do it.
super interested in it.
He can. But being like actively, he likes to go shopping with me. He brings all the stuff in and he pays attention, to everything. So I sometimes I think he's taking a mental list up here. But
Mm-hmm.
but so maybe that's the enthusiasm level that
Right.
he's gonna be at. And I'm like, okay, that's where you're at. Okay. Gotcha.
There you go.
Yep.
so thoughts about morale lifters in time of emergency. So board games from a secondhand store and games they haven't ever seen before, books they haven't seen before,
Yeah.
and stickers. It depends on the age, obviously.
We still
But
like
the
stickers.
dollar store, yeah, I mean, me too. But the dollar store and the secondhand store can be
Mm.
great just to have some stuff stored away that doesn't get used ever, and their favorite foods, favorite snacks, and then yeah, things like that, and just even comfort items like if they're small, like a pillow that they like, and that kind of thing can be helpful.
Yes.
I
Yep.
agree.
Comfort items, big time.
Yeah, their favorite stuffed animal. I feel like
Yep.
that's something. I mean,
Mhm.
even my younger one. I mean, she's 7, but she's still got to have this one particular animal. So it's like you better make sure you don't lose that thing,
Oh gosh, yes.
or have a duplicate. I should really look into getting another one and putting it up in the closet, or even having it in her bag just in case. I
The
think another
duplicate's
thing,
good.
um, for us is just being able to pray together and reading the Bible. I think that would be something that would be a morale lifter, for some of us.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
even considering, we talk a lot about, hard candy and that sort of thing, but keeping that even in your bags might be a good morale booster, something that you could keep in there.
Even
Yes.
we have lots of instruments. We have guitars and
Mhm.
stuff, and so we've taken those camping. Um, and so we've gotten to, not everybody can play guitar in our house, but we've gotten some other instruments. My youngest daughter has a kalimba, and it's something that you play with your hands, which probably exercises your texting fingers, but you're supposed to you play it with your thumb. It's pretty. It's pretty music. It's a Japanese style instrument, I think. And um, what was the other thing? I have a tongue drum that I got for Christmas, and it sounds very it's relaxing and meditative. And so they're just different instruments, but they're very portable. And so is the guitar, and then my husband has a ukulele and a regular acoustic guitar. So those are things that don't require any power, as far as electrical power or whatever. And so you can have a lot. You can, whoever was talking about singing lots of songs, and get those campfire songs out.
Great.
Those are good ideas. And Fabian's here from Ottawa. Thanks for stopping in. And I wanted to bring up, we're kind of wrapping it up here, but any thoughts on family members who won't prep or don't think it's necessary? This is something that we see from time to time. Oh, Prepper Dog's here.
I
Hello,
think we
Prepper
do see
Dog.
that one. Hi there, Prepper Dog. Yeah, we do see that one a lot. I think we all have family members like that, and it can be a really difficult pill to swallow. If it's an immediate family member, I feel like you're going to have to find ways to work around them, even if it's something like saying, hey, I'm taking X amount of dollars and I'm budgeting this towards preps every month, and you have to do that, then just do that. And if it's not immediate family, then maybe taking the time to just talk to them about the basics is a good way to start. So
Mhm.
explaining about the importance of prepping for, natural disasters, or your car breaking down on the side of the road, or
Yep.
even the potential for job loss accelerating, and just having preps put up for that could help with it. And unfortunately, if they still won't listen, then sometimes you just have to wait for them to have a personal SHTF that affects them before they start to wake
Right.
up.
Right.
Yep, that
That's
seems to be, that's a good point. And I guess more extended members of the family that say they're coming, we've all heard, I'm coming to your house if something happens. Well, a good thing to say back to that is, okay, well, what are you bringing? Is if they're
There you go.
coming, you got
yes.
to bring something,
Yeah.
because we
Mhm.
don't often plan for all these different people to show up. And there's tons of videos where people talk about that, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I had lunch with a friend the other day, and we were talking about, I don't know, we got to talking about price comparisons, or I think it was the difference between Costco and Sam's Club or something. But as we got to talking, she made a comment to me about, well, she says, stop hoarding food. And I'm like, I'm not
No,
hoarding food.
no.
I was like, don't get me started. But I said, I'm not hoarding food. I said, that's how I got started in all of this anyway, was just being practical, and couponing was a big thing with me. And so, family of 5, and I would, buy the things when they were rock bottom prices, buy them with a coupon, and you get them for very little to free. And that's how I would stock up my pantry. I said, I have a working pantry. I fill it up. I eat from it. I fill it back up.
There you go. You know what? I feel like another thing that we could do as well, guys, like, I mean, I know it wouldn't be ideal, but you can still get big bags of rice and beans for fairly cheap. And even if that's something that you're just stashing aside to give to those types of family members, it may not be
Mhm.
what they want to eat, but at least it's something. So,
Yeah,
Well,
that
it's
we've
true.
talked about that too.
I know City Prepping has a video about that, and had little. I know it's controversial because some people think you should do
Yep.
this, some people think you shouldn't. Everyone's different. They have their own thought process on it. But I know City Prepping had a bag for extra bags just in case that there was a certain amount of those that could be given out with some more basic items in them. And it looked like X24 Prepper, family who won't prep or listen to your pitch. I just prep for them in case, not quite the amount I'd recommend if they prep for themselves, a decent amount to make sure that they don't starve. So that
I'm
does
all
it
about
sound,
trying
yes, for
to,
sure.
I'll help you teach yourself how to take care of yourself. I'm all about that. So it's like, I'll teach you how to build a fire, and I'll teach you how to fish, or I'll teach you how to, sew or do these things or save money here and there so that you can experience the same thing. Yeah, so that kind of, I'm all about that. Let me just say that. I'm all about helping someone teach themselves, how to take care of themselves.
I love that too. I think it just comes down to a
Mhm.
situation where if things got really, really bad, it
Yeah.
might be easier to avoid it if they didn't live near you. But like in my case, I have family that is just on the other side of the road. So if I had to sit and
Oh,
watch them become emaciated and starve before me, I think that is a little bit harder to
Mhm.
absorb and deal with. So that's always something that we kind of have to keep in the back of our minds is, are you actually willing to watch that take place? Are you going to be able to do it, or should you just go ahead and have some of
Right.
these things? And we have gotten them to a point where they are prepping something, and they do have stuff that they accumulated in 2020 when they did get scared, because I think a lot of people, even regular people that aren't into prepping, actually acquired some items. Then they may not have kept up with it, but they do have something, right? So
Yep. That's my in-laws. They have things that they like bought a bunch of, and then they're still, I've noticed around the house that they're still kind of just stacked it over randomly everywhere. So,
right.
yeah. And I'm just like, I want to get in there and I want to say, oh, let me help you, let me do this. But they're like, we just go to the store and whatever. So I'm like, okay.
Yes, it's hard.
Okay.
It really is hard.
Yeah, but I don't have them right across the street. They're 3.5 hours away is the closest family. So
yeah, so you're probably thinking that in a full SHTF and there was no movement, it would be, a situation where they wouldn't necessarily be able to get to you.
No, they have my husband's 2 brothers live close by to them, so they got them.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep.
So, the organized pineapple's here. Hello,
I
good to
see the
see
organized
Hello.
pineapple. Yay.
Yes. And X24 added, I guess what I forgot to mention was that for immediate family, not extended, yeah, because there's just no way we could prep for all of our
No.
extended family. It just doesn't,
Mm-mm.
it's not
Can't prep for the
practical.
whole neighborhood either.
I know.
No.
And I think
So, in closing, oh, please
no,
go
I
ahead.
was just going to add a little comment to what she was saying. I think as far as our neighborhood, I think there's only like 2 people that I can see from my house that actually have gardens in our neighborhood. And I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's great. And I wanted to just, in closing, because I know we've been here for a while now already, any thoughts related to prepping specifically for our elderly family? And I do think that the topic of, different needs, different things that people are dealing with would be a good topic for other videos. But in terms of elderly family or just really anyone, try to anticipate any complex medical needs. So any conditions that they have, especially things that flare up and go away. For example, if a person has gout and they get an attack every once in a while, but usually they don't have it. But what if they get an attack right when, they need to relocate somewhere or something like that? So having that medication and, having ways for them to get around. And then of course there's so many other things that they could have. But do you have any thoughts about that, either of you?
Just keeping your prescriptions filled as much as possible for those needs, and then even having some natural alternatives for any of those things that you could do. I know there are some things that you can pick up that kind of maybe help with lowering blood sugar and stuff. They may not fix it entirely like an actual medication, but there are things that you can look into like that. And I'm not going to go into them because I'm not giving any medical advice on here. But another thing that you might want to consider too is just having like a small generator or something on hand. If you have somebody who's on a CPAP machine, I know my dad's on one. So having that, and then also having, I know Sassy Gal talks about this too, is just having a water distiller so that you can distill that water that needs to go in that, because you can't just put tap water in there. So things like that you need to be thinking about as well.
Yeah,
Those are really great.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, is make sure that if you can find a way to have those prescriptions filled in advance, or if you can be granted, I don't know if that's the right word I want to use, a 90-day supply of your meds, then at least you've got that so that you can stay on top of anything that might be shortages or supply issues or something. And then just learning how to naturally care for some of these things. I know there are some things out there that you have, if it's, whatever kind of cootie bug you might get, or, like asthma to some degree, there are some natural remedies and you can learn what those are. Again, do your own research, talk to someone who's in natural medicine, or what is that? Herbal medicine, naturopathy, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Homeopathic, that's kind of the word I was looking for. So, but yeah, so, find other substitutions that you can do in case that particular kind of medicine or something isn't available. Find ways to heal your body from the inside out so that you can, reduce the likelihood that you might get something.
Another thing I wanted to add too that I remembered, I watched a video. I can't remember when it was. It may have even been last year, but I know Southern Prepper One had done one where he was talking about just even having a collapsible walker purchased ahead of time.
Oh,
because there could be a situation where you yourself get injured and you can't get around properly, and you might need something like that. So that's actually something I have on my wish list, and I keep putting it off. But I'm thinking, yeah, we probably should have something like that on hand.
Yeah, if you check like a thrift store or any kind of a hospice store that might have secondhand, when people are done with them, you can get a walker or some crutches or
something. Right?
Yeah, something, any kind of a brace that you might need. Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea.
Those are really good ideas. That's like next level first aid kit for sure.
Oh yeah. Extra reading glasses. I just saw that fly by. Yes.
Awesome, LG.
I have a ton.
LG's full of ideas.
Yeah.
I'll have to look and see if LG has a channel, because there's been some real good points made. We are going to wrap up here. I just wanted to say thank you so much to you guys for joining. You guys are both wealth. You contribute a lot, wealth of knowledge, and
thank you.
There's a lot of good ideas in the chat, which I will go back. Sorry if I missed anybody. I've been trying to watch it, but I'll go back and read it in more detail later. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Is there anything you want to add at the end?
I don't think so.
I think I'm good. I think I talked enough, didn't I? Can't shut me up.
No, you guys are great. All right. Well, thank you so much for
everybody.
being here, and don't forget to sub to these channels. Anyone in the chat who hasn't already.
Thank you for having
each other. Yeah. Show some love.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Bye. Bye.